There is a particular kind of tired that sleep cannot fix. You know the one. It is not the tiredness that comes from a long day of labor, from working with your hands or running a race. That kind of tired is honest and clean. Your body aches, you lie down, and somewhere in the night, the ache leaves you. No, the tired I am talking about is the kind that follows you into sleep and is waiting for you when you wake up. It lives behind your eyes. It sits at the back of your chest. It is the weight of everything you are carrying that no one else can see. The worry about the diagnosis that has not come back yet. The marriage that is held together with prayers and silence. The child you love with everything in you and cannot reach. The financial pressure that makes you afraid to open your phone. The grief that society told you should be over by now. The question you cannot ask out loud because if you say it, it becomes real. That is the burden I want to talk to you about today. Not the ones you wear on the outside. The ones you carry on the inside, quietly, faithfully, and utterly alone. There was a man who knew something about burdens. His name was Simon. He was a fisherman from a region called Galilee, a place that was never going to make anyone's list of important cities. He was the kind of man who smelled like the sea, whose hands were rope-worn and thick, whose whole existence was organized around the rhythm of work and weather and water. He had a temper that came fast and went faster. He had a mouth that moved quicker than his wisdom. He was, by most measures of the ancient world, unremarkable. Then Jesus looked at him and said, "You are going to be called Peter." The rock. Which, if you knew Simon at that particular moment in his life, would have seemed like a joke. Because there was nothing rock-like about him. He was more like water, always moving, always shifting, never quite sure where the edges were. But something happened to Peter over the years of following Jesus. Something was worked into him through a series of extraordinary experiences, some glorious, some humiliating, that transformed the way he understood the relationship between human weakness and divine strength. Let me take you to a few of those moments. Because what Peter eventually writes in his letter, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you," is not abstract theology. It is autobiography. It is the testimony of a man who learned this truth the hard way, in real water, in real darkness, with real failure. The first moment, a boat on the Sea of Galilee, in the middle of the night, in the middle of a storm. The disciples are rowing. The wind has turned against them. The waves are high and the boat is straining and the shore is far away and everything is wrong. They have been at this for hours. Their arms are burning. Their courage is beginning to fray. And then Peter sees something on the water. A figure. Walking. In the dark. In the storm. And his heart stops, because this is not possible. And then Jesus calls out to them, and it is his voice, and the impossible becomes actual, and Peter does the thing that Peter always does. He does not wait for an invitation. He does not assess the situation carefully and make a measured decision. He says, "Lord, if it's really you, call me out there." And Jesus says, "Come." And Peter gets out of the boat. Now I want you to sit with this for a moment, because we often tell this story as a cautionary tale about what happened next. Peter looked at the waves. Peter was afraid. Peter sank. Lesson: don't look at the waves. Keep your eyes on Jesus. And yes, that is part of the story. But do not miss the first part. Peter walked on water. He actually did it. He stepped off a wooden boat in the middle of a storm in the middle of the night and he stood on the surface of the sea. That happened. No one in human history had done it before and very few have been asked to do it since, and Peter did it. Until he didn't. He saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." And immediately, that word is in the text, immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. There was no lecture. No disappointed head shake. No extended moment of letting Peter really feel the consequences of his faithlessness. Immediately. The hand. The rescue. And then, gentle and honest, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Not an accusation. A question. A real question. Why did you doubt? I was right here. I called you out. I had you. I always had you. Peter learned something in that water that he would carry for the rest of his life. When you sink, cry out. And the hand will come. Immediately. The second moment, a garden at night, and Jesus on his knees in agony. This is harder to write about. Peter was there. He had been brought with James and John to the innermost part of the garden, closer than the others, asked to watch and to pray. And Jesus went a little further still, and prayed in a way that Peter had never seen him pray before. Not peaceful. Not serene. Not the composed teacher with the quiet voice. This was anguish. Luke tells us his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. His prayer was a cry, Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Let that land. The Son of God, the one who had stilled storms and raised the dead, was asking his Father to find another way. He did not want what was coming. He was not detached from it. He was not above it. He was feeling the full weight of it, pressing down, and he was asking, is there another way? And the answer, in the silence of heaven, was no. And Jesus said, nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. That word, nevertheless. That word is the hinge point of all of human history, and Peter was close enough to hear it. Nevertheless. Not because the burden was light. Not because he had stopped feeling it. Not because he had worked out, logically, that it would all be fine. He surrendered while the weight was still crushing. He cast his will, his deepest human desire for another outcome, into the hands of the Father while the anguish was still fully present. He was not pretending the cup was empty. He was trusting the one who gave it. Peter saw that. Peter sat with it. Even through his failure to stay awake, even in his later failure to stay standing, he saw it. The third moment, a courtyard, a fire, a girl asking a question. You were with him too, weren't you? And Peter said no. 3 times, with increasing panic and volume and the terrible specificity of someone who is drowning not in water but in his own fear. I did not know him. I do not know what you are talking about. I do not know this man. And the rooster crowed. And Jesus, arrested, bound, being led away, turned and looked at Peter. Just looked. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. This is perhaps the most important moment of all, for what it sets up. Because the Gospel of Mark, which most scholars believe was informed heavily by Peter's own testimony, includes a detail that no one who wanted to protect Peter's reputation would have included. Mark keeps the denial. Mark keeps the bitterness of the weeping. Mark does not soften this. Because what comes after it is what Peter most needed the world to know. After the resurrection, the angel at the empty tomb gives a specific instruction. Go, tell his disciples, and Peter. And Peter. Not just the disciples. Peter by name. The one who failed most publicly, most completely, was being specifically called back. And then, on a beach, another fire, another morning, Jesus reinstates him. 3 times he asks, do you love me? Once for each denial. Not to humiliate. To heal. To say, the failure does not define you. The love does. Feed my sheep. The man who had denied him 3 times was commissioned to care for the church. Do you understand now why Peter could write what he wrote? Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. This is not a man who had a smooth, uncomplicated walk with God. This is a man who sank. Who slept when he should have watched. Who denied when he should have stood. Who failed in the most public, painful way imaginable. And who was found. Caught. Restored. Called back by name. When Peter says cast, he means it with the force of everything he has lived. Cast. Not a gentle surrender. Not a careful arrangement of your worries on a shelf. A throw. A definitive release. The kind of movement that requires your whole body, your whole intention, your whole trust that whatever you release will be caught by someone capable of holding it. The word in the original Greek is eperipto, to throw upon. To hurl onto. It carries the image of a traveler who has been carrying a heavy pack for a very long time, and now sees someone strong enough to carry it, and lifts it from their own shoulders and puts it on theirs. Not gently. With relief. With the exhausted joy of someone who has finally reached the place where they can put it down. Let me ask you something honestly. What are you carrying right now that was never meant to be yours alone? Because here is what I know about the way we hold our anxieties. We hold them because we believe, somewhere beneath the belief we would say out loud, that God either doesn't see this particular thing, or doesn't think it's important enough to deal with, or is waiting for us to handle it ourselves before He steps in. We believe our worry is a kind of faithfulness. As though thinking hard enough about a problem is the same as caring about it. As though the constant mental rehearsal of worst-case scenarios is protecting us from them. As though if we hold it tightly enough, we can keep it from getting worse. But anxiety has never prevented a single disaster. It has only robbed us of the present while we lived inside a future that has not arrived. There is a reason Jesus, in the Sermon on the Mount, asked, "Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?" The answer, obviously, is no. And yet we keep trying. Peter's invitation, God's invitation, speaking through a man who had been there, who had failed and been found, is to choose a different way. Not passivity. Not irresponsibility. Not pretending the hard thing is not hard. The invitation is to do what Peter did in the water. Cry out, "Lord, save me." To do what Jesus did in the garden. Lay your deepest, truest, most honest self before the Father and say, "I don't want this cup. But I trust you more than I trust my own understanding of what I need." There is something the verse says that I do not want us to rush past. Because He cares for you. Not because He is obligated. Not because it is in the job description of a deity. Not because caring for you is the cost of His own narrative going the way He wants it to go. But because He actually, genuinely, in the truest relational sense of the word, cares. This is the heart of the matter. We can know theologically that God is all-powerful and still not cast our cares on Him, because deep down we don't believe He wants them. We think we are too small, our worries too ordinary, our burdens too insignificant compared to the scale of the universe and the weight of history and all the truly catastrophic things that require divine attention. But the God of the universe also counted the hairs on your head. He knows the sparrow that falls. He sees the specific shape of your particular suffering. He is not managing you from a distance. He is close. He is present. He is not diminished by giving you His attention. His capacity does not have a ceiling that your anxiety can threaten. And He says, "Give it to me. All of it. Not just the manageable edges. Cast all your anxiety on me. Because I care for you." So here is what I want to invite you to do right now. Not in some distant future when you feel spiritual enough. Not after you've thought about it more or cleaned it up into a more respectable prayer. Right now. Think about the thing you've been carrying. Say its name, if only in the quiet of your own heart. Don't dress it up. Don't apologize for it. The marriage. The diagnosis. The debt. The loneliness that doesn't have a polite name. The grief that has overstayed its social welcome. The failure you still wake up thinking about. The fear that some things will never be okay. Say it plainly. God already knows it. You are not informing Him. You are choosing, deliberately, to bring it to Him instead of keeping it in your own hands. And then do the thing Peter describes. Cast it. Not a gentle prayer where you list your concerns and retain full custody of them. A throw. A release. An act of your will that says, "I am not strong enough to hold this, but you are. I don't understand the outcome, but I trust the one who does. I am not giving up. I am giving over. This is what surrender looks like in the actual practice of faith. Not passive resignation. Not spiritual dissociation from real pain. But the courageous, deliberate act of loosening your grip on the thing that was always too heavy, and placing it in hands that were designed to carry it. Peter wrote his letter to people who were suffering. Real suffering, persecution, displacement, fear, loss. He was not writing from a comfortable life to comfortable people. He was writing from the edge of his own martyrdom to people who were living in genuine danger. And the thing he chose to tell them, among all the things he could have said, was this. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Not, your suffering will end soon. Not, God will explain it when it's over. Not, just be strong. Cast it. He cares for you. This is the word that has outlasted empires. That has been pressed into the hearts of people in dungeons and hospitals and quiet kitchens at 3 in the morning when the world is asleep and the weight is at its heaviest and the question is loudest. He cares for you. You are not a task on a divine to-do list. You are not a case number. You are not a category. You are a person who is loved with a love that went to a cross, that sweat blood in a garden, that turned and looked at Peter in a courtyard and then found him again on a beach and said, "Come back, I have not finished with you yet." That love is for you. And it is strong enough to carry everything you have been gripping. So today, if you are tired of carrying what you were not designed to carry alone, cast it. Cast all of it. Not the parts that feel spiritual enough to surrender. All of it. The embarrassing worries. The old wounds. The new fears. The things you haven't told anyone. The burdens that have been with you so long you've forgotten that you were not meant to carry them forever. Give them to the one who is not burdened by your burden. Give them to the one who is strong enough to carry what you are not. Give them to the one who, and do not let this become just a theological fact, let it be a living truth today, cares for you. Amen.